Hello students, welcome. Today the topic is the past perfect simple. So first of all, let's start our how to make a sentence in the past perfect simple. We basically have to use the verb to have in its past form, had, as the auxiliary verb. And then we add the past participle. Remember, for regular verbs, we just have to add ed, last with the past simple, like play, played, study, studied, watch, watched. And for irregular verbs, we have to remember that third column, or generally the third column, in those list of irregular verbs that we study every year. Here we have a couple of examples. She had bought that book, or they had sold their old house. This case is easier than with the present perfect simple because we use had for both singular and for every person. For first, second, third person, singular or plural, we always use had. Okay? If we want to contract the auxiliary verb, okay, it contracts to D. We use the contraction mostly for speaking and for informal writing. So we tend to not use it for formal writing or for very formal spoken language. Okay? Remember that the D in this case can coincide with the verb would. So it can be similar to the verb would contracted. Well, not similar, it's exactly the same. It contracts to D. So try to not get confused with that. Here we have the example. I walked away before you arrived. Okay? Let's keep going. For interrogative sentences, as always, we switched the subject and the auxiliary verb. So we start with the auxiliary verb had, then the subject, whatever it is, and then the past participle. In this case, driven, the past participle form of the regular verb drive. Had he driven you home that day? And for negative sentence, as always, we add not to the auxiliary, to had in this case. Remember, also only for informal writing and for spoken language. Otherwise, we can just keep it separated. I had not talked to her before, mostly for formal context, but most often we tend to contract it to N''T. I hadn't talked to her before I knew you. And now finally, let's have a look at how to use the past perfect to form a sentence, how to use it in context, how to use it in a writing exercise or when we are speaking. Okay, the past perfect is used for actions, for an action that took place before a specific moment in the past. I explained this with this idea that is the past of the past. So if we have a time reference in the past, we are speaking about last Monday or last month, or we are speaking about some moment in 2018 or any other year, anything like that. And we take that moment in the past as our reference. If something is in the past of that point, that means that if that thing is, if an action was already past when in the moment we are speaking about, we are going to use the past perfect simple. Here we have a couple of examples to make it more clear. He had visited Paris before I went with you. Okay, so let's imagine that in this case I went with you, or that person went with that person in the summer of 2018. So this other person, but that in that time, in that summer, by that time he had already been in Paris. So it's in the past of the past. Or the burglars had left the town by the time the police started looking for them. So in the moment when the police started looking for these criminals, okay, they were already gone. Okay, so this action, them going away, leaving, running away, had already taken place. It was an action that was already finished by the time the police was starting this other action. I hope it's clear. We're going to have to try to clarify it and to practice it with exercises. But now, before the end, let's look at some expressions that we tend to find often together with this tense, okay? So they are just, never, soon as, already, by the time, after, sorry, I have to change this. This is an F, before and until. So this means that when we are doing exercises, these expressions can point at or can hint, can show that maybe we have to think of using the past perfect simple, or also there are expressions that will go nicely, will fit nicely with the past perfect simple if we are doing, for example, a writing exercise. And now, before the end, just answer these two questions, okay? Just to show that you have been watching the video. You can pause it, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.